Hey, so we're gonna try this again. Couple of things. This is very Inaratu style, meaning there's no editing. So trying to get it all in one take has been really funny. My wife said just to not worry about it, but I do think about it a lot. I usually screw up in public, but like this is different because it's recorded. I don't know. It just feels different. But you're used to me screwing up in public, so it's fun. The other thing is, I know that a lot of you guys are watching more videos of people like trying to tell you stuff online, and you have to you're switching more to this method, and some of you have been doing it already, but I understand that you've been seeing a lot of people talking to you over a video, and you're probably done. So my goal is not to take long, and I don't want to take any longer than I have to, which I may have already done by saying any of this. But anyway, it is, I was going to say it's good to see you, but that's also... Anyway, we've been going through the Sermon on the Mount, and I just thought I'd like to go back to one of the things we covered in the very beginning, like many months ago, in Matthew 5. So one of the verses that just spoke to me, stood out to me, something I thought might be good to talk about is this beatitude. Matthew 5:4. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Happy are those who mourn. That sounds paradoxical. I guess a lot of times the truest things are paradoxical. But blessed are those who mourn. Why? For they will be comforted. You don't need to be comforted if you're not mourning, if you're not grieving. To mourn or grieve is to lose something. You lost the death of something or the loss of something, and that's why we mourn and that's why we grieve. But Jesus here is saying that blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. A couple of questions just right off the bat. I was just thinking about, is this mourning, is the blessing, the comfort for the mourner, is that only reserved for after we die, like going to heaven and then we will be comforted? Is it reserved for that and no other place? And that's a question. Is there a place for being comforted in the here and now? Is there a way that the mourner can be comforted while he's mourning, while she's mourning? So I thought we would kind of look at that. One of the most important parts of this whole thing is just realizing that we've lost things. You've lost things, I've lost things. It's part of the human experience that we lose things. Things die. Dreams die. People die. Our expectations are smashed upon the rocks. We have hurt and we have loss. Trying to figure out now, how do we handle that? Many hours are spent trying to teach people how to grieve. People go to grief counseling. They have grief groups just to be able to grieve. And sometimes we just need to be given permission to grieve. A lot of times we don't think that our suffering is bad enough to really be grieving. We do this comparison thing. We're like, oh, well, that person, he suffered a lot, and so yeah, that makes sense. And she lost this person or that. I get it, but mine isn't really that bad. But comparison never really helps with anything. It just makes us feel more dissatisfied or not enough or fill in the blank. And we even do that with suffering, which is strange, but we do it. It's like we measure it, and it has to be and it's a weird measure. There's nothing really laid out for it. Like, it has to be really, really bad for us to feel like we've suffered. And anyway, I don't think that's necessarily the case. So last week we talked about the idea of guarding your heart, when in Proverbs 4 where it says, guard your heart, above all else guard your heart, for from it flow the issues of life. One of the things we really need to pay attention to is our losses and our hurts. We need to listen to our heart. Remember, it's just to take some time and get in some quiet and listen for those things. Like, what am I grieving? Like, have I lost something? Am I hurting because there's been loss? We all have loss. This is not new for anybody. No one's immune to loss, and the scriptures are full of people with loss. We talked about in the when we had the guys talk about worship, we discussed briefly the idea of we always want like happy, clappy worship songs, and everyone's gonna dance and yay. But like, there's a lot of the Psalms that are lament psalms. They're asking, God, what is going on? Have you forgotten us? How long will this go on? Do you even know who we are? Are you paying attention at all? Do you see the injustice that's happening? Do you see the suffering of your people? This is a common theme throughout the scriptures. And even though our Father is close to us, it's somehow he's closer to us when we're heartbroken. And I don't know how that works, but it seems to be a common theme. We need to think about, to give ourselves space, to give ourselves permission to grieve some things. We also need to be around other people and to share with others like what's going on with us. Galatians 6 says that it's 6:2, carry one another's burdens so that you will fulfill the law of Christ. Carry one another's burdens so you will fulfill the law of Christ. That's amazing verse, but what it says is unless we're carrying each other's burdens, we can't fulfill the law of Christ. And we all want to be the strong one that's carrying the burden of my weaker brother and sister. I want to hold this up. I don't want to be burdensome. I want to hold these things up for them. I want to be able to carry their burden. But if we don't share our burdens, then there are no burdens to bear. If we don't share our burdens, our brother and our sister cannot fulfill the law of Christ. Like we're not allowing them to. And sometimes going back to this idea of comparison, we don't share for various reasons, but sometimes we don't share our burden because we feel like it's not really that bad. I'm not suffering that much. Share your burden in the appropriate place with the appropriate people. We need to do that. We got to rely on one another. I was thinking about this because I guess I was thinking about how we don't realize the little griefs, the little losses, the little hurts that we are experiencing sometimes if we don't take the time to listen to our own hearts. I was thinking about the seniors, thinking about you girls that are graduating this year, and how this is not what you thought your senior year would look like. And there are some legitimate losses, some things are dying. This is the death of some ideas about what you thought things would be like, and that's okay. You need to grieve these things. Like I was just thinking about graduation and graduation parties and prom even, and all these things that even if you haven't really thought about it, you've been thinking about it your whole life. You've been kind of looking forward to these experiences, these like big almost rite of passage experiences, and they're not going to work the way you thought they were going to, and it is sad, and you do need to grieve these things, and I'm sorry that this is working out like this. This is not what we intended, and it might seem like people say like, oh, it's first world problems, okay, whatever, but I want you to give yourself permission to grieve the things. It's your suffering, and your suffering is legitimate, and it's real. Your losses are real. This is not what you wanted. This is not what anyone wanted for you, and it's not the idea that you had in your head. Even people that aren't graduating, they aren't seniors, you're still like thinking like prom, you're thinking like I don't know, birthday parties that you may miss, or sports that you're already missing, or just seeing your friends, going to the beach. You can't even go to the beach. I don't understand what this has to do with anyway, but it's like all these kind of things that like, this is not what you thought was going to happen. This is not how the semester was supposed to end. There's all sorts of things. Family vacation that may not go the way you thought. Different trips that might not go. I mean, honestly, we don't know what to do with challenge at this point. So like, there's a lot of things that, aren't happening the way that we thought they'd be happening. And it's okay to grieve those things. It's good to grieve those things. It's healthy to grieve those things. I just wanted to park on that idea to give you guys, I don't know, just a chance to think those things through. I'd like for you to chat tonight. I think that each group is going to try to do their own Zoom meeting. I hope that works out better, just a smaller group. But maybe you guys could share those things. At the same time that all of this stuff is happening, like, there's also beautiful things going on. And you know that, you're aware of that, but sometimes we have to train our eyes to see it. Like, if you put your hand right here and you got really close and you listened, you would hear it saying, gift, 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 gift. There's so many gifts. There's so many things happening. This is life, right? The tragic and the beautiful at the same time, the sad and the happy. We're watching, thinking about this week, this Jesus who Palm Sunday entered and everyone was praising him as king. But on Friday, they all were asking for his blood. And this is a man that the scripture says is a man of sorrows who was acquainted with grief. But also many people say like he's the happiest human to ever live. Both of these things are part of the human experience. Both of these things are themes that run throughout the totality of Scripture. Both of these feelings are legitimate and part of what it means to be human. So may you take some time to really think through how you're hurting. Maybe to list your losses. Take some time, maybe like on a reoccurring basis, just listing out things that, man, this is sad. Father, this is sad. Because your Father knows. Remember we talked about Jesus talking about, we talked about Jesus talking about prayer, and they thought that they would win the ear of God by saying many things. And he says, no, your Father already knows what you need before you ask him. That he knows you. He knows your hurts. He knows your losses. I think maybe he wants us to acknowledge the fact that they really are genuine losses, and just grieve, mourn. Blessed are those who mourn, happy for they will be comforted. Your Father will comfort you in this. Open yourself up to him. Give yourself permission. Open yourself up to yourself. Get to know your heart. Take some time to see what's going on in there. But give yourself permission to grieve these things and share them with other people, because other people are going through the same thing. Like maybe tonight, again, just share with what's going on, because this is a common experience and we're all going through weird stuff right now and we don't know what to do with these emotions sometimes. So let's just sort it out. Let's figure it out. But may you learn what's going on in that heart of yours. May you learn that your Father is for you and knows already, and isn't chastising you for feeling sad, but will hold you like a good father and just let you cry. And sometimes that's what we need to do. It is good to know you. I was going to say good to see you, but again, I don't know how this works, but